to the Made for Business show, where Catholic moms come to learn how to build a business that is simple and holy. I am your host, Sterling Jakewith, and today we're going to talk about the cost of taking the bet. And Alex Hormozi, who I really like a lot, I'm sure I've talked about his book, $100 Million Offer. It's purple, so when you see it, you'll never unsee it because it's this big purple book called $100 Million Offer. And I've been following his Instagram account, which is fantastic, by the way. He has really short videos that very clearly give tips about sales or marketing or business. So the other day, he just had a quote on there of himself, and this is what the quote said. Our optimism can be our Achilles heel because we believe that the chance of success is actually greater than it is. And we underestimate the cost of taking the bet. And I think in this age of courses and being a coach and being able to make lots of money working from home, we get this message that it's possible. And we confuse that message to mean that it is easy or simple. But starting out, it is not easy. And even though I believe we should make it simple, we rarely do. We usually come out of the gate making things very complex and involved. And that means having lots of offers or structuring your day in a way that ends up feeling confusing or hectic. And so while I believe that it is the goal to create a business that is simple and holy, we rarely start out that way. And it's often a lot harder than we think it is. And I just think that this is really good news to hear right now. Because if you follow someone who says making $100,000 from home is easy, then when you get into it, you're going to think that something is wrong with you. And while I believe that $100,000 success or $1 million per year success is possible, we live in a time that has made that more possible than any other time. I do not think that it is easy. I think, and I've mentioned this before, our brains hate business, and so they try to talk us out of it constantly. Like, imagine if you got married and your husband was constantly saying, I don't think we should be married. This is really hard. I don't think I like you that much, right? It would not be a good marriage, right? It would feel very challenging. And yet, that is exactly what your brain is going to do. And so I think it's really important that we go into this business venture with our eyes wide open for what the cost of taking the bet is actually going to be. It's going to be hundreds of hours of your time. It is going to be stretching your brain and learning things that you didn't even know existed and don't really want to learn, right? Nobody really wants to know how to scrub their email list. Nobody really wants to play around with funnels and figure out Facebook ads and pixels, right? We do it because of our dreams, because of our vision, because of something else we want more. And that's why one of the first things I ask people when they come on a discovery call with me is, how much money do you want to make? I think it's so important to know that number. Almost no one answers that number for me right away. Like, it's clear that almost everyone who gets on the phone with me has not thought about how much money they want to make, not only this year, but 5 years out, which is totally fine. We, particularly as women, are not trained to ask that question, so we don't ask that question. And I think this question is so important because you need to know where you're going in order to be willing to pay the price now, the cost of taking the bet. The cost of taking the bet is time and discomfort, and I absolutely believe that it is worth it. But it is going to get difficult sometimes, and if you don't know why you're doing it, then you're going to want to leave, or you're just going to want to beat yourself up and be terrible to yourself. And then your business still won't grow because you're just sitting and being really mean to yourself. The cost of the bet is high, my friends, but I think it is worth taking. So I want you to ask yourself, how much money do you want to make? Why do you want to make that much money? Sometimes we pick round numbers like $100,000 or $1 million. But another way that you could do it is you could sit with your husband and say, what is it that we really want for our family, for our future? And then you could back into the number. So I did this recently. I told my husband, I said, if I had enough money for a high-end mastermind, right? I love masterminds. For a part-time nanny to play with the little boys, for a part-time tutor to do fun school stuff with the big kids, for an executive assistant to just kind of manage my email and scheduling things. I feel like there was one more thing on that list. But anyway, I wrote down all of the things I would want to pay for. And then I backed into, okay, but after, before paying that, we would take out money for taxes and tithing and savings. And I got to the place where I said, for all of the things that I want, I'd have to be doing $40,000 a month in sales. And what I love about that exercise is it made it so clear for me why I want $40,000 months. Because I'm like, oh yeah, then I'm going to be able to have these other things. And so when things get difficult, and when I feel frustrated or alone or like I don't know what I'm doing, I go back to my vision. This is what I want. And it is worth the cost of the bet. And the cost of the bet is probably going to be 5 years of my time, pouring money back into the business, having a lot of uncomfortable conversations with other people and with myself, learning things, failing at things. And so when you are stepping into this business because God has called you to, I want you to go further than just, I believe God is asking me to do this. I want you to really paint a very clear vision of what you want your life to look like this next year. What are you willing to pay in time and in money and in discomfort? And what are you hoping to get for that bet you're taking this year? And for your 3 or 5 year plan, however far you want to go to feel like, yeah, that's what I'm really working toward. I think that Alex Hormozi is right, and that our optimism can be our Achilles heel. I know that I have done that so many times, where I just think being excited about something and loving my offer and knowing how I can serve people, that feeling, that yummy, sparkly feeling is enough. But it isn't enough. We have to be willing to pay the cost of the bet. And I think a lot of us don't know what we're getting into. And that's fine. That's fine. It's like we don't know what we're getting into when we get married. We don't know what we're getting into when we're parents. It's just that there's no outs on those. And your brain is going to make you think there's an out in the business. Oh, I should totally change what I'm doing. Oh, I should quit. Oh, I need to go get another certification. And change in our business isn't a bad thing, but when we do it because we encounter difficulty and the price for building the business was higher than we thought it was going to be, and instead of having acceptance over that, we resist it and we think, oh, something should be different. I should be different. That's when we get into trouble. So I want you to ask you right now, if you had to do twice as much as you're doing for the dream that you have, are you willing to do that? And if not, why not? There's no right answer. But I want you to be honest with yourself about what you're choosing. All right, I'm going to read the whole thing again. Our optimism can be our Achilles heel because we believe that the chance of success is actually greater than it is. And we underestimate the cost of taking the bet. If you are underestimating the cost of taking the bet, now is a perfect time to take a deep breath and explore that. What do you think it really takes to make 6 or 7 figures from home while raising your kids? What do you think it really takes? What if it took 3 times as much as you're doing right now? Would you still do it? What would you give up to find more time? Would you be willing to feel a lot more discomfort than you're feeling right now? These are just some really good questions to ask ourselves before we head into the new year. And my hope is that these questions stretch us, and they might even feel like walking through the fire, but I want you to come out the other side feeling so strong and so clear. I am going to make this much money next year. I am going to make this much money in 3 or 5 years. I'm doing it because I want to buy this, 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 and this. Some of them may be things, some of them may be freedom or experiences, but be very clear about why you're doing this. And then keep anchoring yourself to that vision when the cost of the bet comes up. Because we discover that we can have these businesses online and we can make lots of money doing it. And then we create a challenge, or we post every day for 30 days on Instagram, or we do a workshop, or we launch a group program, and we put a lot of effort into it. And when it doesn't turn out the way that we expect, I want you just to know, oh, the cost of the bet is higher. It's not a problem. I didn't know. And recommit. I'm willing to pay more to take this bet. And this feels really good to me. Feels really good to me right now, thinking I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm willing to put more money and more time and more discomfort on the table for this bet. I'm also willing for it not to work out. Right? If in 5 years it doesn't work out and God says, listen, this, was exactly what it was supposed to be, but now we're not going to do it anymore, I'm willing to do that too. That doesn't scare me, because we don't want to create businesses from fear. We want to create businesses from desire for a different future, desire to serve our clients, desire to answer God's calling. So I want you to sit with these questions. You can watch this again. Write down the questions until you come out with your Joan of Arc energy, your energy that says, I was born to do this. Even if I don't know how, and even if it looks really scary, I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump in. All right, my friends, I love you. I'm praying for you. Get to work and have a blessed day.